Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel called Engineering Beyond Blueprint. So, as we completed the portion of component engineering role from junior level to the senior level, so I've been covered a lot many other contents with specific to active and passive components, right? So, and on top of that, I have been shared all the Q&As. What are the interview questions that we could expect in the interview process, right? So that was the update from my end. And again, as I shared the Google form in the previous video, I too got good response from the team overall. I would looking forward who are not registered yet for online session, please do come and update the Google form which I shared in the link in description below, right? So you just registered yourself so that we can accommodate as much as people in the live YouTube session. So then we can have a more descriptive part of interview questions. And I would like to share two major update which is going to help you for to improvise in the career life. And even it is going to help a lot for to growth, find growth opportunities in the career life. With that said, today we are directly jumping into the new topic called being a project manager, how I kind of started my career and what are my learnings. And on top of that, what are the obstacles or the struggles I found, and how do I can kind of overcome all of those issues, right? Those are the opportunities. Basically, I would say not an issue, but how do I can overcome with those opportunities? How do I can prove myself as a good project manager? So today I'm rightly jumping into the to cover few of the contents, very brief about what is project management role, and talking about what is the difference between PMBOK 7th edition to 8th edition. So with that said, let directly get jump into the video. Yeah. So as many of you aware that PMBOK is a project management book, which is by we call it as a Bible of the project management tools and techniques and principles, right? So today I will walk through on what is the PMBOK 7 and what is the upgradation coming on the way to expect in the PMBOK 8th edition. So with that said, let's understand PMBOK is a guide of 8th edition, the era of value, AI, and hybrid delivery. So that is what we could see as a change in 8th edition of the PMBOK. So what exactly we do in the 8th edition? Like we are synthesizing why of the 7th edition with the how of the 6th edition. So it's basically bridging the gap between principles as a mindset and the process as an execution. So this basically overall, I would say it's in 8th edition, we would like to see what is the value that creating in the project and each of the subsequent tasks in the project management activity. So next, as a standard built on around 48,000 data points, the 8th edition has been as a Goldilocks updates, if you ask me. The problem in PMBOK 6 was too rigid, whereas in the PMBOK 7, it was too abstract. Right? To overcome that solution, as a solution, PMBOK 8 combines the brain of the seventh principle with the spine of sixth structure. So evidence-driven refinement developed using 48,000 data points to reconcile the demand of processes without losing the principles. So let go and see what is let go and, at high level. Let go and see what is the difference that we could see at high level. If you ask me, as an architecture of 8th edition, the blueprint for modern project management is first is mindset. So in the mindset, we could see there are 6 principles streamlined from 12 principles from the 7th edition. As functional structure, there are 7 performance domains, replace the knowledge areas. And as life cycle, 5 focus areas, process group, reimagine it, right? And as an execution part of it, 40 processes, now prescriptive guidelines with input, tool, techniques, and outputs, right? The structure of integrate the why principle, the what domains, and how focus area and processes. With streamlining mindset, right? From 12 principle to 6 principles we brought as a difference in the 8th edition. In the 7th edition, we had around 12 principles, right? So what are those changes majorly we brought in to squeeze it into the six principles in the 8th edition? First is like adopt a holistic view. So when we say holistic view, the system thinking and complexity management, right? And the focus on values, outcome over the output. And next is comes embedded quality, productive quality into processes and deliverables. Fourth is be an accountable leader, which is says stewardship and leadership behavioral combined. So integrate sustainability, environmental, social, and economic impact as a new pillar into the 6 principles. The build an empowered culture, the psychological safety and diverse item, right? So what exactly in the 6th edition majorly if you see, we are bringing governance as a main principle and the finance as another principle. Why governance and finance is pretty much required. Any project management which required to be approvals from the PMOs as a government body. And when it comes for financial, so anything kind of impacting to the milestone that has to be calculated and there should be um, value creation for the given task in the project management. The 7 performance domains, what we called in the 8th edition, is as I said, one is governance and other one is finance is majorly tracked and monitored day in, day out. So the remaining portion, as you know, the scope, schedule. In this case, finance replaced with the cost, right? And stakeholders, resource, and the risk, uncertainty, and mitigations, right? The key shift in the domain represent the functional responsibility of project manager, handle distinct from the linear life cycle, right? So note what we would like to say here as a kind of keynote, the specific evaluation of finance and governance. As I said, right? So governance and the financial playing a critical role in our project management activity in the 8th edition. So what is mean by governance? Governance is oversights and decision-making authority. As I said, the PMO are the one who making the decision-making authority in the governance body. Scope, as we aware that defining the boundaries, like we have to define the scope before any project that we get started, right? As a schedule. So to achieve the scope of the project, we have to define the timelines. So that is we talk about as a brief, as a schedule. And finance, as I said, for each of the project milestones, we have been allocate the fund and accordingly should meet align with the schedule and the time and the cost. So next comes stakeholder. Who are the stakeholders required to be engaged in the given task as a project management milestone activity? As a resource, in this case, we are talking about teams from the different domain like supply chain, NPA, NPD, engineers, design engineers, and so on and so forth. As a physical asset, also be considered as a resource. A risk. So any milestone when we are driving through, we could identify there are some risk, which is uncertain in nature. We have to identify the risk mitigation strategy. The returns of structure process groups as focus areas generally, as you know, if you even if you go to 6th edition, 7th edition, or even 8th edition, these are the 5 pillars that we touch base, and it's going to be a very iterative in nature. First thing is like as you know, initiating and planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing. Reintroduce not as a rigid phases but focus area to provide the life cycle lens. These can occur iteratively in adaptive and hybrid environment. So as I said, in any of the edition, if you go, these are the 5 pillars are must follow through all the phases of the project. So here is what we say interesting part of it as an execution guidance. 40 non-prescriptive processes. As a domain, if you see, there are 7 performance domain we call, like as we discussed earlier, is governance, scope, schedule, finance, risk, and resource, and stakeholders. As a uh, focus areas, as you know, is a 5 focus areas: initiating, planning, and executing, and monitoring and controlling, and finally as a closing. So how this is kind of aligned Y into X axis in terms of performance domain versus focus area. So domain, like as I said, uh, governance focus area is only on initiating, right? And processes like initiating project or phases, and the components are input, tools, techniques, and outputs. The shift of approximately 40 process reintroduced down from 49 in the sixth edition, right? So we reduce 49 processes into 40. And next is what input, tools, techniques, and the output returns. Actionable steps are back. Like anything, if it is given as a task, as an input, what are the tools and techniques that we are using it, and what is the value that we are returning out of that process. Next is come flexibility. Flexibility is like non-prescriptive practitioners selected and tailored based on the context, right? So here is what exactly we are talking about. Redefining the project means from deliverable to value. So any deliverable is should give the value that we expected out of the project. So in the old definition, if you see in the 6th and 7th edition, we talk about as a defining the project management is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create the unique product, service, and the results. Right? In the new definition of 8th edition, a temporary initiative in any context undertaken to create value. So here is what we bring a difference in terms of value. As a project management is an application of knowledge to meet or exceed intended values. Implication: shift from compliance, scope, schedule, cost to benefit realization. In out of 3 different constraints, we should find the output as a benefit for the realization of the project. So evaluating business acronyms, governance, and the finance. Moving up the chain to strategic business functions. As a governance, as I said, governance and the finance are major milestone or the domain specific focus that we are in 8th edition. As a governance, non-dedicated performance domain, focus on decision-making framework, transparency, and strategic alignment. Whereas in the finance, new standalone domain it is, its focus towards on move behind the cost management to include financial stewardship, budgeting, and financial closure. As I said, in the 8th edition, we are bringing artificial intelligence. The reason why we want to bring this, there are routine tasks which we want to be automated. As a project manager, we have to report out and we have to communicate to all the stakeholders, including from the top management to the bottom management. We have to be communicate what is the progress and where we stand in terms of project, right? As an automation part of it in the AI era, I would say routine task status reports update generation. And predictive analysis also bring it as a new features by using AI, which is forecasting, schedule delays, and risk scoring. With generative AI analyzing the stakeholder sentiments and drafting the communications. Being a PMP ready now means being a AI readiness, right? So include emphasize on ethics, data verification, and responsible use. Next comes sustainability and culture as core drivers. Sustainability and culture together collaborate and give us an outcome. So this goes as an hand in hand, right? As a sustainability, mandatory consideration of environmental, social, and economic impact, not an after throughout. Okay. So culture is something like build an empowered culture, focus on psychological safety, diversity, and team autonomy. So impact is from the sustainability and culture. Projects are viewed as a vehicle for social and organization changes. So here is what, just for you, ready reckoner from PMBOK 7 versus PMBOK 8. As futures, if you consider the first one is principles. So in the PMBOK 7th edition 2021, we had 12 high-level principles. In PMBOK 8 in 2025 to 2026, 6 actionable principles. Structure 8 performance domains, and here is what we reduced to 7 functional domains with focusing on 5 areas, which I said: initiating, planning, execution, controlling, and closing. The key additions: value delivery systems, whereas in the PMBOK 8, AI appendix, finance domain, and governance domain. So this majorly focus on AI, finance, and governance domains. Orientation, high level mindset, whereas in the PMBOK 8 edition is just a mindset plus adding execution in a hybrid model, which create a value for outcome of the project deliverables. So it's just for a summary, which is we got a source information from PMI.org as a release timelines and the roadmap. As you know, November 13, 2025, in the Kindle and digital world, it has been released. As a paper book release on recently, like January 13th, 2026, and exam pattern will getting changed with adding governance and the financial as a focused area and domains from starting from July 2026. Right? So advisory, if you ask me, anybody already taken an exam for July 2026, still you are going to get the questionnaire in the pattern of considering the PMBOK 7. Whereas the people who are enrolled the training after July 2026 is going to be all PMBOK 8 standard based questionnaires. Action planner for practitioner and the PMOs. One is adopt the time value mindset, one thing. And second thing is update methodology and digitally literacy and tailor the process, governance check. So these are pretty much like covered in my previous video. Like adaptive mindset means any project, whatever we delivered or the milestones we met, it should create a value for the project. So overall, the maturation of project management is one is of course as a principles and as a processes. PMBOK 8 is synthesized addition, combining the why principle, the what domains, and how processes and how AI driven through make some kind of decision upfront. So with that said, I hope this summary of PMBOK 7 edition to 8th edition changes along with brief summary about PMBOK 8th edition changes gives you more insights about what is going to be a project management role in the by 8th edition with driving in AI principles, AI domains, right? So with that said, I hope this brief summary about PMBOK 8th edition and difference between PMBOK 7 and 8th edition would be help you a lot. And with that, I do come with more content towards on PMBOK 8th edition and more deep dive into 7 focus areas and 7 principles, which is domain specific principles to talk about more in deeper. With that said, please do like, subscribe, and please do motivate so that I can bring with a lot of content which is relevant to the specific to the project management role activity. So again, like as I said, please do like and subscribe, and in the description below, please fill out the Google form. I do like to come live in the YouTube channel to share a few more thoughts on the component engine role. And I would like to share there is a big update which is going to be a surprise element. So please do watch and fill the form as soon as possible. I got still so far around 500 plus responses. I would like to hear from larger audience and understand what is their thought process and what are the content they want to see. And with that, I would like to share few of the questionnaire in the component engineering role part of it, which is going to help you when you're facing any interviews. And don't forget to fill the form and submit as soon as possible.